The topic today, as we all know, is the 5 common mistakes to avoid while learning analytics online. All right, so before we get started, let me set the context. A few words about me. My name is Hari. I am the co-founder at Great Learning. Prior to this, my previous startup venture was a marketing automation company called iLabs, which was acquired in 2010. And since then, I have been in the education business, and I have been an edtech entrepreneur, as they say. I also hold the position of Director Admissions at Great Lakes for our executive analytics programs. And everything that I have to share today is essentially my experience of over the past 5 years of having spoken to and interacted with over thousands of working professionals who've been wanting to learn analytics and upskill themselves and transition their career into analytics. So whatever I have poured out into these slides are essentially a concise representation of the kind of questions that I have seen, and of course the problems that people face when it comes to making a decision about how to go about learning analytics. Great Learning is one of India's leading edtech companies with programs that are designed to empower working professionals, develop relevant competencies such that it can help their careers. We are on a mission to make every skilled professional data proficient, which means if you look at our programs, you will see that analytics is a common hue and flavor that goes across all programs that we do, right from specialized programs in business analytics and data science to big data and machine learning, and even in generic programs such as executive management. As things stand today, we are one of India's largest tech companies, and we are offering multiple top-ranked programs in big data, data science, and machine learning. All right, so with that context, let's get started. A word about the macro picture. I know, I'm sure that this is not news to any of you. You've been reading newspapers and you know what's happening. We are seeing so many job losses, and more importantly, more important than the number of job losses is the uncertainty that exists in IT services. It is important to understand why is this happening. The first myth that I'd like to bust here is that it is wrong to think that this is a recent phenomenon. This is something that has been happening over the years, at least in the last 7 to 8 years, and now, of course, it's reached a crescendo where visible impact can be seen all around us. One of the primary reasons why this is happening is because of emergence of new technologies such as automation, machine learning, data science, big data, cybersecurity, and so on. Essentially, what that means is the roles or the folks who are being threatened are the ones where their job is at risk because of these emerging areas. To put it in a different context, what we are seeing right now is a transition of the IT industry from what I call as scale to scale. When the IT services companies were essentially having their bull run, which was around mid-90s to, let's say, around 2010. Most of their business was revolving around the scale of operations, which means how many full-time equivalents could they put on a project. But now that's not the case. With automation and deep learning / machine learning, a lot of the tasks are getting automated. A lot of the tasks don't require human intervention. So essentially now the professionals that are in demand are the ones who have specific competencies and skill sets that these businesses need. And that is the transition from scale to scale. It is important to also understand that just as we are seeing or we are hearing about job losses in one side of IT sector, the very same companies are also massively recruiting in emerging areas such as analytics and data science, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and so on. So as a professional, the option for you is to either stick to what you've been doing so far and be at the risk of being a relic of the past, or embrace the future. That is, upskill yourself in these emerging areas where the demand is there, and where we know that this demand is going to sustain for the next couple of decades at least, and become a specialist and an expert in that, so that you can have an even better career ahead. Just to put out a few numbers to kind of show the growth story that I'm talking about, is that analytics industry currently in India is growing at about 30% as compared to IT services, which is languishing at somewhere between 5 to 6.5%, depending upon what reports you believe. A recently quoted McKinsey report states that India will need 2 lakh analytics professionals by the end of 2018. That's exactly 18 months from now. And we are nowhere close to having 2 lakh analytics professionals. NASSCOM, on the other hand, believes that India is going to see 5 lakh analytics and big data jobs by the end of 2018. So you can see the massive potential that exists in analytics and big data and machine learning in these emerging areas. And the opportunity is there for the taking. The opportunity is there for professionals to get trained and skilled. And if you are someone who can demonstrate your competence, I can assure you, you are in a golden time of your career because there is no dearth of opportunities. In fact, I read something only a couple of days back in Economic Times where they had mentioned that the big data analytics industry, so big data analytics itself is a subset of the analytics industry. So just the big data piece in India is likely to be worth $16 billion by 2025, and that is huge. So these are the reasons, why professionals have this choice today of learning analytics or upskilling themselves into these areas, and these are all the right reasons why you should be thinking about it. But as you start thinking about wanting to learn analytics or upskilling yourself, the most common dilemma that everybody faces is that how do you go about your learning? So I have tried to compartmentalize that into 3 broad options. The first option is there are a few full-time programs in the country which can train you in analytics. But as all full-time programs go, these are typically suited for younger professionals, less than let's say 4 years of experience, who can afford to quit their jobs and pursue a full-time program. Anything beyond that is then not an option for you because the opportunity cost of time is huge as a working professional. Then, of course, we have the online programs, and there are lots and lots of options in terms of online programs. And what I would like to guard you against here is that what we see is that most of the programs, the way they are marketed or delivered, is that most of these programs are shortcuts. For example, I've heard or read articles around where online education companies make claims such as become a data scientist in 50 hours or 60 hours or master analytics in 40 hours. I think the first distinction you got to make is that you cannot learn analytics, data science, machine learning, or big data in 40-50 hours. It takes a lot more time than that, right? So your learning cannot be superficial, because if your learning is superficial, your outcomes are going to be incomplete, which means that anytime you try to make a transition or go into an interview, you will see how shallow your learning is, and thereby you'll have to go back to the drawing board and learn even more. So as it stands with all good education, you have to go deep, you have to build a strong foundation, and the real caveat here is that avoid superficial learning. The second problem, of course, with online programs globally is the completion rates, which are quite abysmal, to be honest. So most online programs, even the big ones like Coursera and universities for that matter, right, report completion rates at best of about 20-25%, right, which means only 1 in 4 candidates actually goes on to complete the program. The other 3, either drop out or are left behind. And there's a reason for that, which we will cover in one of the upcoming slides. And the second aspect that the industry questions a lot is the academic rigor. Sure, you've done this online program from somewhere, but what does it really mean to a recruiter, right? How do they know that you are the one who basically did all the assignments, that you actually learned something, and basically anybody who's ready to pay gets a certificate, right? So where is the academic rigor? So that again is an important aspect of how you should evaluate online programs and how you should make your decision. But more on it a few slides later. And the third option is the blended program, which again a few top institutes in India, including Great Lakes and Great Learning, provide. And these are essentially longer and more exhaustive programs. These are more like you could say parallel to like what a master's program would be for executives. They go much deeper into concepts, but of course, the flip side is that it needs a lot more commitment from you in terms of time and effort, and also that these are usually priced higher as compared to their online variants. So these are the three broad delivery formats that exist today for you to learn online. And depending upon what suits you and what is your learning behavior, that is extremely important. You should make a choice. So before you start learning, before you even decide that, okay, this is the course that I'm going to do, I've often seen that people miss the very first step. And the very first step is this, that you have to ask yourself, or more importantly, you have to be very clear as to what do you want to do with this education that you're receiving, right? The moot question here is that why are you looking to learn analytics if that is the course you want to pursue? And more importantly, what are your expectations with it? What do you think is going to happen post the course in your career? So avoid the herd effect. I often see so many candidates, especially this is truer for the younger folks, where they have not done enough of their research. They're not very sure about the reasons why they want to learn analytics. They just want to do it because their friends or peers are doing it, or because they've heard this buzzword almost on a daily basis and they know very little about it. So avoid that, because unless and until you are sure about why do you want to learn and what do you want to take out of it, your learning will be suboptimal. More importantly, your outcomes will be suboptimal. So it's important to research, read more about the area, understand what are the opportunities that exist, explore more companies that are working here, look at the kind of job descriptions they're posting online, see what are the skills that they're looking to hire for, right? And then make a decision if those skills that are there in demand, is that in sync with, whatever you bring to the table. And finally, there's no substitute to talking to more people. So try and talk to your managers, seniors, peers, mentors, anybody in the family who works in this area. Get a good understanding of what's happening in the industry and what it means for a professional like you. And when you look at career outcomes after doing an analytics program, you also need to be sure that, or you need to understand that there are two different tracks that professionals can pursue, in analytics companies or in analytics roles. One is the technology track, which is where you can be focused more on the technologies, the big data technologies especially, right? And build your career as a technology professional, right? So roles could be like a big data architect or a data engineer or a big data engineer and so on, right? Wherein you need to understand analytics, but more importantly, you need to understand big data technology, right? So that is one track that exists. The other track that exists is a business track, wherein your ultimate objective is to use data and derive results on inferences, right? For that, of course, again, you will have to have a very strong understanding of analytics and data science, and plus you should be you should be knowing how to work on tools that are used in data science, whether it be R or SAS or Tableau for visualization or any of these. Again, the idea here is not to make you a technology professional in analytics. The idea here is to make you more like a data scientist or a business analyst. And for that, you need to really be strong on your analytical techniques and analytics understanding, and you need to have a hands-on exposure on tools. So I often get this question from candidates that, okay, so if this is the lay of the land, if these are the different options that exist, what would I recommend? Which is the right way to learn? Unfortunately, there is no recommendation that I can give that can work at a mass scale. Learning is different for everyone because your learning behavior and expectations are unique from the candidate right next to you. So you need to first understand that, what is your learning behavior? And let me talk a few lines about learning behavior for those who don't understand what that term means. Learning behavior, as the words mean, is basically understanding your behavior as to how do you learn and when do you learn best, right? So if you are a self-starter who can learn all by yourself, maybe you never need to come to the classroom, right? If you are someone who needs hand holding or who can learn only better in a group, who likes interacting with people, then you need to look at options that will facilitate those, right? So that is the first thing you need to understand. The second thing is learning outcomes. What kind of learning outcomes are you looking for by doing this course or program? Again, those learning outcomes that the course is going to help you achieve have to be in alignment with the career track that you want to pursue, right? If these two are disjoint or orthogonal, again, all the time, effort, and money that you spend in learning will come to a naught. And there are a few no-go areas that I would outrightly want you or warn you against. First and foremost is avoid courses or options that are only content with little or no application, right? So unless and until, see, finally, you're not trying to become a theoretical scientist, right? You're trying to become a business professional or a technology professional who understands the space and can apply it. So you have to dig deeper to understand what is or how well are you going to learn the application aspect of what you're learning, and then choose what is the best option for you. Secondly, something I've spoken about before, avoid superficial learning. And this is something, this is a theme that you will see me talk about a lot more, because there is nothing more detrimental to your career than starting your learning on a wrong footing, right? So go deep, understand the depth, understand the foundation. If your foundation is strong enough, you can keep building more and more over it. But if your foundation itself is shaky, anytime there are any questions posed at you, you will go back to try, and you'll struggle, and then B, your next immediate action would be to try and build your foundations again, which is something you could have done the first time around itself, which is why I keep repeating that avoid superficial learning. Lastly, don't fall for falsified claims, right? Different companies will use different baits in marketing. Do your own research, use your own common sense, try and understand about the curriculum, the faculty, how the industry perceives it, and then make a decision. Don't fall for any false promises. Many times companies will use terms such as the short placements and all. These are all, these are absolutely falsified claims, right? Because nobody ever can assure you of a job. It's just as simple as that. And being working professionals, you of course know it better than me. All right, so coming to the topic at hand, what are the 5 mistakes that you should avoid while learning online? The way I've structured this is that I have 5 placeholders, and I'll go a little deeper into each of those. And hopefully my objective by running you through these slides is piquing your interest so that you start asking the right questions to yourself and of course to the options that you're considering. The first and foremost is content is commodity, right? So don't fall for content, right? If people could learn by content alone, I believe the entire world should be learning by watching YouTube videos, right? YouTube is, apart from the entertainment aspect to it, is a fantastic treasure trove of really good content. And there are other options as well, like Khan Academy and all, right? So content exists, and content is a commodity, right? But people are not learning, and there is something to learn from that, right? So don't go only at how the content looks or what you understand from the content. Of course, that's an important piece. I'm not denying its importance, but that is not a sufficient condition, as they say in programming language. It is not a sufficient condition for you to learn well. The other aspect you also need to see is that there are very poor learning outcomes in pure content-based online programs, and this has been splashed all over the internet. You can do your research, and the reason is purely this, that it is not lack of content or lack of good quality content that is preventing people from learning or upskilling these skills. These are essentially hard skills to acquire. They require a certain amount of effort, dedication, concerted plan, and discipline for you to learn these skills, and it takes time, right? So don't think that if you have 40 hours of content, you'll be able to quickly go through it, and you'll be able to crack the next interview that comes to you. The second mistake that you should avoid, or the aspect that you should think about, is what I call as the dark belly of online education, which is completion rates. So we briefly broached about this some time back, where I was telling you that the best completion rates that exist in online programs at a scale are about 25%, right? Which means only 1 in 4 people actually ends up finishing a course. So that has to be something that you do keep in mind when you make a choice, because what that means is the odds are already against you, right? And you now have to fight those odds and actually emerge victorious. And the recurring problem here that we see is that in most online programs, candidates are just left to their own. There's a content dump that you can access, And there could be some periodic webinars or live virtual classes, just like the way we're doing right now, that happens. But more so, that you're completely left to your own devices in terms of how you learn and how you complete the program. And because of lack of time or whatever be the reason, candidates do have or do suffer from low motivation to complete the program. The third aspect, which I again made a brief mention of earlier, is that learning should never be superficial. And let me make a case here. Most of the candidates that I talk to, who come and meet me, or I get to meet them elsewhere, come in saying or making statements like, I want to learn analytics, and for which I am doing this course in R or course in SAS, or I want to get a job as an analyst, and that's why I'm doing the SAS certification or R certification or Python certification and so on. I think the first important distinction that you ought to make in your mind is that learning tools is completely different from learning analytics. Like tools, and I have repeatedly said this on public forums, is that tools and technologies, I feel, are the easiest aspect to learn. And if you have to learn just R or SAS or any tool that is used by the industry, I think you can just learn it by yourself. As long as you're from a programming background, you don't need any help. There's just so much free content available there. So it's important to make that distinction and be clear in your own expectations that why are you doing this program and what are the skill sets that you're looking to gain. Right? Again, it is important to know tools, because without learning R or SAS, you won't be able to work with large volumes of data. All of that aspect is fine, but then don't muddle learning analytics with learning tools. Learning tools is a small aspect of learning analytics and data science. The other aspect here, of course, is that tools keep changing, right? And I'll give you an example here. About 4.5 years back, when we started our first analytics program, right? SAS was our primary tool of instruction, right? All our programs used to happen in SAS. But over the years, we have seen that R has gained much more traction, and the industry demands knowledge for R in more cases than SAS. And hence, we had to move our primary tool of instruction from SAS to R, right? So don't be hung up on what tools are you going to learn, or have a litany of tools, that all of these tools will I learn. The fact of the matter is that learning tools is fairly straightforward and simple. What is tougher is learning the science of analytics, learning statistics, and how to apply these concepts. That is the hard part, and that is where companies give premium to candidates. The fourth aspect is you have to think about how will the industry view it, right? And this is where education pedigree matters. And it matters not because of the certificate that you get. It matters because of the credibility that a good pedigree business school or education institution enjoys in the market, right? Which will not be there with training companies and so on. So as far as possible, you should try and continue your education with a high quality educational institution that is well recognized in the industry. Secondly, a lot of the times our partner companies have said that they keep getting all these resumes from various candidates who've done a bunch of online programs in analytics, but as soon as they conduct an interview, the recruiter is puzzled because the foundation itself seems very weak, right? So that raises a huge question on academic rigor of most online programs, and that is something that is extremely important, because that is what will maintain the brand in the industry, and that is what will get you your most favored job. The third aspect is that you should know who the faculty is, right? Ultimately, you have to know who are you learning from, and for that, you should do more research to understand who are the people who are teaching the program, what are their backgrounds, profiles, achievements, right? And what would that really mean to you as a candidate? The best programs that I have seen, of course, always combine really good academic faculty with industry leaders, so that once you're in the program and you start your learning in analytics, your learning is not just restricted to the academic part, but also a great part of it is covered by industry in terms of industry applications and so on. The last point, which is also a big discussion point, is assume that you've done this course or done this program online. At the end of it, what is it that you've got to show? right? And this is where, we have to understand how recruiters think about hiring, right? First and foremost, gone are the days when people would just give you a job because you are from an XYZ top school in the country. Today, certificate means nothing, right? Pedigree still matters because that they enjoy a certain trust with educational institutions of high pedigree, so that matters. But don't go in with the expectation or the assumption that you're going to walk in and you're going to sleep through the program, but at the end of it, you're going to get a certificate and you're going to walk out and find that next best job. It doesn't work like that, right? What is important today is that you as a candidate have to demonstrate your competence. If you're not able to demonstrate your competence in analytics, demonstrate your proficiency in analytics or big data or any of these other fields, it is hard to convince a recruiter to give you a job. And one way to demonstrate this competence is by what we call as body of work, right? So when you're learning online, try and put a concerted approach on how can you build your profile better, right? What more can you do? What kind of projects that can you showcase? What kind of hackathons or competitions can you participate in? How do you build a body of work that displays what really have you learned and what really are you good at? So encapsulating this into a more detailed action plan for all of you is that these are the 5 questions that you should ask both yourself as well as the education company or institute that you're dealing with. And the first question should always be, who's the faculty? Who am I going to learn from? And let me tell you something here, that what we have seen is that there is a world of difference between academic faculty and industry faculty, right? You could have fantastic people from the industry come in and teach, but unless and until they're good teachers, your learning is going to be very shortchanged. So it is important that you understand who the faculty is and what are their credentials. It is also, again, very important to understand what is the brand value that this institute or university possesses in the industry. How is that going to help you? The second question for you to ask is, how are you going to gain industry exposure? Ultimately, whatever you learn has to be applicable. You should be able to build a skill set and demonstrate that. So hence, it is important that you get industry exposure. Learning only from academicians is not going to help. You have to learn from the industry so that they can walk you through examples and case studies. And thereby build industry exposure. So it is important to understand how do you get industry exposure when you do a program. The third aspect is, take a look at the curriculum. I think that is by far the most important aspect along with faculty. Take a look at the curriculum and understand what is it that you're learning by doing this program. Are you actually learning analytics? Are you actually building concepts in analytics, data science, machine learning? Or is it just a laundry list of tools? 90% of the programs that exist today in the online space are just a laundry list of tools, right? Because what the psychology here is that basically they're latching on to keywords. They'll put a whole litany of keywords that people are querying about. And when you see these keywords, you make an assumption that, oh, if all these keywords are there, the program must be really good and really deep. But that is not the way it works, right? And we already spoken about this. Don't fall for a litany of tools. Rather focus on the foundation and what are you learning in analytics. The fourth question, especially this is very important for the industry, is that what is the rigor in the program? And you should ask this, right? Does everybody who pays get a certificate? If that is the case, then the brand will never be valued in the industry, or very soon it will stop being valued in the industry. So what is the rigor in the program? How do you ensure that candidates do actually learn and only then do they graduate? And finally, the most important question, that this is something that you have to answer for yourself, is that how will doing this program add more value than just a mere line in your CV, right? Ultimately, let me assure you, you're not going to get a job or you're not going to get a career progression or career transition just because you have a certificate from any institute, may be the best in the world. That's not going to happen. Finally, you have to learn skill sets. You have to master certain competencies and demonstrate that to have the career growth that you desire. So hence, it is important that how does this program help you do that, right? What kind of projects are you going to work on? What kind of work will you have to show to the outside world? How will that get built into your resume or LinkedIn profile? So these are the important questions that you need to ask so that you are, making a better decision. And we all, we did all of this research while, delivering our online, our analytics programs. Because when we started with blended programs, right? Even today, most of our programs are in the blended mode. We have one fully online analytics program. Uh, and what was happening over the years is that we were just getting more and more requests from people who wanted to pursue online programs, especially internationally. There were so many of international requests that were coming in, that we then went back to the industry and the candidates who have done analytics programs online, to understand what makes a good online program in analytics, or what are the things that we should keep in mind. So our own program that we offer online, BACP, the Business Analytics Certification Program, is an evolution that started with our learnings from, about 4.5 years of running India's top-ranked blended program in analytics. Now that, incidentally, also is is one of the biggest analytics programs in the world today. Taken by over 1,500 professionals every year. We, of course, in this mission of taking analytics education to everyone who wants to learn analytics and be more data proficient, we've now clocked over 1 million learning hours purely in analytics. So our challenge was that we wanted to bring the best of blended and classroom programs to an online environment, so that we can address some of these problems and gaps that exist and that people have told us about. And in that effort, we started piloting and developing a program sometime last year, where we started discussing with various industry professionals in terms of their apprehensions about online analytics programs, and also with faculty, and interacting with hundreds of online learners, understanding, where did they think that online programs were lacking, and how could we fill that gap. So it was this research and this dedicated effort for over 8 to 9 months that led to the creation of what we call as BACP, that is Business Analytics Certificate Program, which we believe is the best way to learn analytics online today. As things stand, it's a 6 months completely online program, so you can take it from anywhere at any point in time. It is certified by Great Lakes Institute of Management, again one of the leading business schools in the country. And most importantly, we have created what we believe is a completely new way to learn online that makes it effective and engaging for the participants. And let me just not make a false claim. Let me actually tell you what do we do. And you would probably correlate it with your own experiences that you may have heard or you may have experienced, and some of the things that I had shared earlier. The first aspect that really distinguishes the program from everything out there is the quality of the faculty, right? We have created content, contributed by India's best analytics faculty, right? So it is a combination of top Great Lakes faculty as well as industry. In fact, two of our leading contributors, Professor Bappa Aditya and Professor P.K. Vishwanathan, who are program directors for our analytics programs at Great Lakes, they've been ranked within India's top 10 analytics faculty. Plus, beyond all the content from academicians in analytics, we also have collaborated with industry professionals such that they deliver over 60 hours of industry webinars, which are mostly problem walkthroughs. So it is not global gyan that is coming your way, but it is more about taking a problem, solving it, doing a case study, and doing it in such a manner that you're also able to solve along with the industry professional. The second key aspect that we brought in, especially to address two aspects or two failures of most online programs. One is the dropout rate, or the completion rate, which was very, very low. And the other is collaboration or coordination with industry so that your learning is complete, is that we brought in personalized mentorship and micro classes. So let me tell you what this means. So when you join this program, what happens is that every participant is allotted a mentor, and a mentor is essentially an analytics professional, and today we have over 100 plus industry mentors from leading companies such as Microsoft, CTS, Deloitte, HSBC, and so on. So throughout the program, you get about 40 hours of personalized mentorship, wherein the mentor will not just help you understand concepts better, help you solve problems better, but also help you with career guidance and career advice, which is extremely unique. It doesn't happen in any other program. The second aspect that we saw was that we one of the reasons why we saw or why we witness such high dropout rates in online programs is because candidates are left to themselves, right, to fend for themselves. So what we did instead is that we, in this program, create small groups of 4 to 5 people, and a mentor is assigned to every group, right? So that you're never left to yourself and you learn as a group, right? So there's the social learning and peer learning also that comes in. So even if you are slacking, your peers will pull you up and say, listen, let's complete this module, or let's work on this project and so on. And come to think of it, that is the way that we always learned, right from schooling to college, to post graduation, to whoever would have done it here. You would see that learning essentially, or a critical component of learning, is social learning in small groups with your friends, and each helping out each other. So that is something that we bring to the online program, and that completely changes the dynamics and addresses these major problems that we otherwise see in online programs. The third aspect that we are very, very focused on is that we help candidates build your body of work, as we call it. So that once you complete the program, you're not going out into the industry with just a certificate, but you actually have a lot more to show. And it begins right from the way you learn. So when you look at the curriculum of BACP, you would see that it is a completely application-driven, project-driven learning. The program curriculum itself is broken down into 6 modules, and there are about 6 to 7 projects that you do, one project roughly with every module, right? And that is the way you learn, right? So it is not just theoretical learning that you're getting here, but it is actually a lot of application and application-driven learning that helps you understand these concepts even better in an industry interface. So by the end of the program, apart from just the certificate, you also get to showcase 6 high quality projects. So when you're going into an interview, you're not just saying that, listen, I've done the certificate program, but what we're also saying is that I have done these projects, and you can actually showcase those projects. And these projects are modeled around real world business problems in analytics. The next aspect that is crucial for any good quality education brand like Great Lakes is that there has to be academic rigor and depth. So we focus a lot on teaching analytics and data science, and we don't just look at tools. You will, of course, learn our within the program, but again, what we do with tools is help you work on data sets. We're not trying to make you an R programmer here. We're actually trying to make you a data scientist or a business analyst, or a data engineer. And for that, what you really need to understand is the analytics side of things, and that is what we really focus on. The curriculum quality, again, distinguishes the program completely in terms of the way it is taught, the exposure and the depth that is given in the curriculum, right? So you cannot compare, a 30-40 hour module or a course with what BACP is, which is close to about 200 odd hours. Evaluations are, again, a critical part of the program, and this is where the industry relies on us. This is where we get the credibility from the industry. It is not as if you paid for the program, you are going to clear it. No candidate gets to clear the program unless and until they clear all evaluations to the satisfaction of the faculty. So that is extremely important, and that also essentially ensures that the brand stays intact within the industry. But more importantly, you also learn something as a candidate, and you're just not buying a certificate. We also use a dedicated program manager to ensure that, even if you are falling behind, there is enough hand holding that is done to help you come back on track. Right? Imagine this would just be like a relationship manager, but for your education. And that hand holding essentially is very important, especially, because everybody is a unique learner. Their learning pace is different. And what this does is that it keeps a tab on everybody, so that we ensure that a large majority of the class go together in their learning journey. And the last but definitely not the least reason is the education brand. The brand Great Lakes that gets associated with your professional credentials. Great Lakes itself is ranked in top 10 business schools now. We are in fact ranked as a leading analytics school in the country, with multiple programs in analytics and lots of industry affiliations in analytics. And this industry credibility and acceptance is extremely important when you pursue education. And I'm sure that is something that you've already witnessed in your career. So all of these experiments that we did, led to some fantastic results. And I just wanted to quickly run you through those so that you realize that it is not just something that we want to do, but it is something that we're already doing and seeing results. So completion rates in BACP are about 90%, and contrast that with 25%, which is the best that we've heard for other online programs. 88% of the participants rated the program 4 plus on 5, which is excellent, which means 88%, if you're familiar with the Net Promoter Score, 88% of the participants actually said that they are recommending the program to their peers and friends in the industry, and which is fantastic. And that only happens when people have good learning outcomes and have had a fantastic experience in the program. We've had several cases of career transitions, again, from IT to analytics. We've had cases of transitions of people progressing in their existing companies itself, change of role, change of project, people from analytics who come into the program and doing better in their career. So multiple examples of career transitions. And again, that is because of a combination of things, because of what you're learning, what you're able to showcase to the outside world, and of course, the value that the brand brings. We now have 100 plus industry guests as faculty and mentors. So we've seen contribution every single day in terms of how our content gets better and how our learning experience that we deliver in the program is more effective from an industry standpoint. And that is, again, something that is extremely unique to the program. Usually in online programs, what happens is that content is once created and keeps getting recycled. That's not what happens at BACP. There is a component where you interact directly with industry guests and mentors, and this list only keeps growing. If you go to our website, of course, you will see a lot more examples of and stories of our students and alumni who pursued the program and what their experience has been. And I would really urge you to do that so that you get a better understanding of how people have viewed this. But even if you look at the few that I've mentioned here, you will see that the highlights are essentially the depth of knowledge that candidates receive in analytics domain, and how we ensure that motivation is on for all candidates so that they complete the program. Again, we have a mix of candidates. We have younger professionals with 4 or 5 years of experience. We have senior professionals with more than 20 years of experience also doing the program, right? And the way the whole model is built and the way the mentorship works is that it works beautifully across experience domains and across industries. And that's how we allocate mentors and those micro classes that we do. I think we are right on time. Thank you so much for your questions. I can still see questions trickling in. What I would suggest is that please do write into me or reach out to the admissions team with any of your questions that I have not been able to answer. If you already put in your questions, don't worry, we will answer them as well on one-to-one conversations. My email ID is mentioned right here, so feel free to write to me with any queries or any clarifications that you may need. Or anything else that you would like us to conduct a webinar on. We're more than happy, and we keep doing such info sessions at regular intervals, and we'd like to do more about what is it that you want to learn or know about. So on that note, thank you once again for your participation. It was wonderful having you participate again on a weekday afternoon. So it's fantastic, the kind of commitment, interest, and time that you spent. I sincerely hope that the session was useful for you and you did learn something that could help you make a better decision. Would love to hear your feedback and thoughts. Keep them coming in. So on that note, thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to meet some of you in the near future. Thank you.